The Zone of Interest is a kick in the gut, in the best possible way. Sexy Beast director, writer and director of Under the Skin, and here, writer and director Jonathan Glazer has produced something that is nothing short of a masterpiece. Oh my. Highly restrained and audio-oriented, it's about Rudolph Höss. Not that Rudolph Höss, but the Rudolph Höss who was commandant of Auschwitz. Loosely based on the book of the same name from 2014, the film is essentially a profile of Höss, and to a lesser extent his wife, mostly over the course of 2 days in 1943. Later, the film follows Höss to Oranienburg, where we leave him as he prepares for Operation Höss, the double-speed mass execution of more than 400,000 Hungarians. But mostly, it is set in and around the Höss's apparently idyllic home, separated from the Auschwitz concentration camp by a single wall. The narrative is unconventional. I've already told you the entire basic plot, because really the point is to offer a slice of the Höss's lives, and a glimpse at how normal they appear to be, and perhaps even are. The interiors are generally shot with remotely controlled cameras, leaving the actors alone and free to use the replicated Höss villa, itself built less than a mile from the original. Elsewhere, with a few exceptions, the shots are constrained to long and medium shots, and I'd go so far as to say that Glazer even tells us what this film really is with the opening shot. It's a fictionalized, observational documentary, presented with the same detachment as if we were watching crocodiles eat buffaloes. It's just that our subjects are morally void Nazis in denial. All of this is occasionally punctuated by dread-inducing thermal imagery, and near constantly underscored by the sounds of muffled agony, diegetic and non-diegetic, giving the Zone of Interest not so much a surreal twist, so much as an extra dollop of existential dread. Like a really big dollop, on a cake made mostly out of dread, already frosted with dread. Oh, the dread! The dread! You don't even see it. You can hear the Holocaust happening, you know it's happening, but you don't see any of it. So it's much, much scarier. Like the Blair Witch. I wouldn't necessarily call the tone of Zone totally unique, but I would call it masterfully rendered and applied. The careful and often clinical shots add to this, but it's the sound design that really cements it. Precisely, and dare I say lovingly recreated sounds of Auschwitz were painstakingly recorded and catalogued, and are adeptly mixed into something like an auditory river of pain. Rapid but soft percussive strikes feel like a stressed heartbeat, pattering with unquenchable anxiety. Then, that's eclipsed by the sounds of that wretched train. Johnny Byrne and Tarn Willers won Oscars for their sound engineering on the Zone of Interest, and if there ever needs to be an example of sound design and engineering as art, let this be it. Christian Friedel and Sandra Huller are incredibly convincing as Rudolph and Hedwig, as are the actors playing all of their lovely friends. I think it's worth saying too, that although the film of course doesn't hinge on it, the casting choices and performances of the background and single scene actors very much enhance the feeling of triple-decker terror. Particularly, the reactions of the Höss's shell-shocked house staff were especially convincing, especially for how little time on screen they had.
Sie stehen lassen, mich zu provozieren.
Nein, Frau Höss.
The Zone of Interest presents itself at first as mostly detached, but this is really a thematically appropriate ruse. As is alluded to in the film, by the summer of 1943, Höss was under a tremendous amount of pressure. He was under investigation for, among other things, massive corruption in Auschwitz. By now, the Germans were clearly losing the war, and Höss would have surely known this. As the film progresses, the cracks in Hess's veneer of calm begin to show, and simultaneously the veneer of detachment in the narrative cracks too. It may be shot like a scientific experiment, but I think it's very deliberate, and restrained, yes, but emotional in how it constructs its narrative. We get a close look at Höss, like a really close look. He's presented as a human being that we can sometimes empathize with. But even with the film showing us virtually nothing of the concentration camp itself, I feel as though Glazer seeks not to defame as much as utterly dismantle, by showing that behind a cruel and psychopathic monster is a relatively normal, pathetic person. The film disempowers the myth. Although you might argue that if the Rudolph Hösses of this world aren't uniquely evil, but just relatively compliant and indifferent, the message changes from one of demystifying monsters to internalizing them. I'm not totally sure, but I think Glazer's portrayal of Höss, in part, serves as a criticism of a selfish way of thinking as much as of the individual himself. There are recurring elements of industry collaboration, mass denial, and greed that, with the middle-class psychopath-made good themes, come across as a critique of now as much as then. Is Höss motivated by hatred or ambition? Is his internal nausea from the deepest reaches that know what he's doing is so wrong? Or does his fear really stem from the realization that he might have to pay the consequences? I think that even when films about Auschwitz or concentration camps and death camps are very well made, they sometimes struggle to bring anything new to the table because there are so many of them. But this film does just that. And there you go. It's probably one of my favourite new films that I've seen in a long time. I'm really glad that they're still making movies like this, and movies like this are getting a fairly general audience and are somehow being profitable. There's hope yet for movies. So anyway, find me on stumbling upon my Reddit by digging the Telegram talk. Find me there, if you can. Bye. Oh, by the way, as an addendum, a lot of people praised this film very highly, and among them was Steven Spielberg, who said, "This is probably one of the best Holocaust movies since Schindler's List." So, high praise indeed.